Democrats are not doing enough for their own party, and they're not fighting against the Republicans, who are just they're too far gone, right? They're out.
So again, we as voters, what are we left with then, right? Republicans are actively destroying our democracy, right? Or, you know, there's people destroying our democracy while the rest of the Republican Party is just, you know, I don't see nothing wrong here. Like, I don't see anything going on. Meanwhile, Democrats aren't really fighting enough. Like, they're putting up a little bit of a fight. You've got a couple of people coming out that you know, are speaking out and things of that nature. But as far as like really using the powers of Congress, the powers of the Senate to fight, I don't see it. I don't really see it. And yeah, and because of that, you know, we're voters. What are our options? Yeah, we got the midterms coming up. Yeah, if we vote in Democrats, the same Democrats that really haven't been putting up a fight to be the majority, now they're the majority, do we really have any sign that they're going to be effective in what they're bringing forward? Because yeah, I've heard a lot of lip service about holding people accountable, and you know, as far as Epstein, the hearings and things like that. Like, I want massive changes. Like, I want massive changes to fix everything that's been broken, and Democrats haven't really shown that they're going to provide that. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Trey.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Back at it with another video.
Another one.
First and foremost, thanks to everybody that's watching. If you're not a subscriber already, go ahead, take some time, hit the subscribe button. I'm a new YouTuber, and really helps me to get out there, you know, establish myself a little better. And, you know, make sure y'all hit a like and hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you like and what you don't like about the content. Today we're going to be reacting to a video that's a combination. It's a really American media and the Democratic Socialists. They did a combination video, and it's kind of talking about, you know, the establishment Democrats and how it's, I believe, and I'm sure a lot of y'all believe too, that there are plenty of them that need to go ahead and head off to pasture, need to make way for the new voices of the Democratic Party. And that's all I'll say to lead into this one. Let's go ahead and get into the video.
Get out. Let a new generation lead. You've been ineffective. The base doesn't like you. The base wants fighters.
The Republican Party is unpopular. I mean, go figure, they're led by an autocratic con man, but the Democrats aren't doing great themselves, and yet progressives across the country are gaining momentum faster than ever before. Why is that? Well, for one, they are actually calling out Democratic leadership and addressing the popular needs of the American people, actually putting up a fight against the GOP and corporate interests that negatively affect all of us. And now we are seeing representatives like Ro Khanna and AOC, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders, amongst other in the progressive coalition, going against the national attitude of the Democratic Party, directly calling out their leadership on national television to great success. But before we get too far into this video, be sure to...
And you know what's interesting about how he just laid that out is, like, you remember, like, it used to be Bernie on an island all by himself. Then AOC and a couple other folks showed up and took a more progressive stance and all that stuff. But remember how they portrayed Bernie Sanders, right? They didn't portray him as somebody that was like the people. I've always supported Bernie. I've always thought that his plans, the way he spoke about his plans, like, you agree with it, right? Healthcare for all, you know, free college, things of that nature. So it's important to that more voices are starting to appear on that same messaging stance. But it's also important to pay attention to how establishment Democrats respond to that and how they try and vilify these new voices. It's pretty crazy.
Subscribe to U.S. Democratic Socialists for more news like this you don't want to miss and to join our fight over here. All right, let's dive in here with Representative Ro Khanna speaking about these exact frustrations that many of us are feeling.
Then what we say to most Americans is we're not willing to fight for our vision for America, for our moral vision. You know who is willing to fight for his vision of America? Donald Trump. And you know why the Democrats keep losing? Because we don't have conviction in our politics. We don't have inspiration and passion in our politics. We've got people there 50 years who read the same scripts, put out the same bland statements. Get out. Let a new generation lead. You've been ineffective. The base doesn't like you. The base wants fighters. The base wants people with moral vision. And the only people the base are more upset with than Donald Trump is the ineffective leadership of the Democratic Party to stand up when a president of the United States is threatening genocide.
Hey, round of applause. Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna, everybody.
Exactly right here. People are sick and tired of the opposition party posting screenshots and graphic designs on Instagram. You know, like, how about you actually use the mechanisms of power that are given to you as the minority party to do something, anything at this point? Because the finger wagging and the strongly worded letters are going nowhere, right? And the Democrats and independents across the country see that, and it's yucky. It's yucky. It sucks, right? We want fighters, and the polling shows that.
You might say, okay, well, at least.
And another big thing about it, and I can't remember if they get into it or not, it has to do with how old some of these motherfuckers are. Like, let's be honest, like, you should age out. I think there should be a cap on the amount of time you can spend in Congress too. I don't think you should be able to be a lifetime congressman, congresswoman. That's just me personally. And it would prevent things like what we're seeing right now. Like, you would serve your time. Hey, thank you for your service. Move on. Let's get some new blood in there. Let's get some new ideas, some new ways of envisioning a plan and how to tackle it. Like, yeah, you can't just be a permanent fixture in Congress and or the Senate for the rest of your life.
Dems like Democrats. Not the case. Look at this. The majority of Democrats are independents who lean Democrats. Look at this. 55% say no, congressional Democrats do not have the right priorities. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. -4 points. That is Democrats. Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress.
Democrats are not doing enough for their own party, and they're not fighting against the Republicans, who are just they're too far gone, right? They're out.
So again, we as voters, what are we left with then, right? Republicans are actively destroying our democracy, right? Or, you know, there's people destroying our democracy while the rest of the Republican Party is just, you know, I don't see nothing wrong here. Like, I don't see anything going on. Meanwhile, Democrats aren't really fighting enough. Like, they're putting up a little bit of a fight. You've got a couple of people coming out that you know, are speaking out and things of that nature. But as far as like really using the powers of Congress, the powers of the Senate to fight, I don't see it. I don't really see it. And yeah, and because of that, you know, we're voters. What are our options? Yeah, we got the midterms coming up. Yeah, if we vote in Democrats, the same Democrats that really haven't been putting up a fight to be the majority, now they're the majority, do we really have any sign that they're going to be effective in what they're bringing forward? Because, yeah, I've heard a lot of lip service about holding people accountable and, you know, as far as Epstein, the hearings and things like that. Like, I want massive changes. Like, I want massive changes to fix everything that's been broken. And Democrats haven't really shown that they're going to provide that.
They're in outer space. There's no hope. They're completely captured by corporate interests and the elites. They're gone, right? But there are people out there who are extremely popular, especially among young voters who historically don't turn out to vote too much, that are actually energized by these progressive candidates, like AOC, who in the case against Chuck Schumer is polling 30 percentage points better amongst New York Democrats. Now, this poll was taken a few months back, but I would bet you that that number has only gone up in recent months. And in fact, according to an NBC poll, AOC now has a higher favorability rating than Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, and the entire entire Democratic Party itself, right? So clearly, having a progressive voice, having these ideas and ideology and fighting back against MAGA and the GOP is popular. And on top of all of that, there is one main driving policy that does actually generate a lot of support, and that is opposition to Israel. It's been bipartisan for decades to support the nation-state of Israel, but ever since their unrelenting genocide against the Palestinians and now more recent attacks in Lebanon, public support for Israel is at an all-time low and is only sinking further every single day. We are now seeing that 80% of Democrats have a very or somewhat unfavorable view of Israel. That number jumps to 84 if you look below the ages of.
I think that should be a foundational kind of temperature gauge on any congressional, anybody running for Congress, anybody running for the Senate, their stance. I believe, like, point blank period, like, you don't have to come out, busting Israel over the head, but you can't be taking APAC funding. You can't be watered down. Like, me personally, I get it. Like, I don't care if they specifically use the word genocide, but use the word war crimes for the state of Israel, and how they've been conducting these attacks, these atrocities. If they can't say that openly, and whenever they're in an interview, whenever they're doing a rally or whatever the case may be, then they do not deserve to be, we shouldn't be voting for these people. Like, everybody knows, plain as day, you can see with your own eyes what's been happening. And for somebody with political aspirations to not be able to say that, it means that you're bought. So
50, and that number amongst the GOP is 57% of people under the age of from 18 to 49 have an unfavorable view of Israel, and 60% of U.S. adults across the board have a negative view of Israel as well. This is now a bipartisan issue amongst the general American public, right? This is an 80-20 issue. And yet both the mainstream Democratic and Republican parties continue their full throttle support for Israel. And wouldn't you believe it, AOC and Bernie Sanders, both extremely popular politicians, have called for an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. Bernie Sanders even announced last Wednesday that he would introduce a resolution next week aimed at stopping U.S. military aid to Israel, and AOC has said, quote, "I will not support Congress sending more taxpayer dollars and military aid to a government that consistently ignores international law and U.S. law." Bernie Sanders has also gone on the record saying, while the world focuses on the destruction in Iran, we must not ignore what Israel is doing in Lebanon. 1,461 have been killed, 4,430 have been injured, 1.2 million have been displaced. Israel now occupies 14% of Lebanon. Enough is enough. No more U.S. military aid to Israel. And would you look at that? Bernie Sanders' net favorability among independents plus 21%, whereas Democrats in Congress are sitting at negative 36, and his net favorability among moderates is plus 24, where Democrats are sitting at negative 31. Now, I'm not saying that Bernie or AOC or Ro Khanna, Ilhan Omar, or Rashid Tlaib, any progressive politician are popular solely based on their pressure or their negative stance against Israel, although it is a factor, but they are also not tied to super PACs. They are not bought by big oil or tech or weapons manufacturers. They are here for the American people. They support Americans, and they want all of us to have access to shelter and food and healthcare and medicine. Just look at what AOC has to say about giving MAGA healthcare.
I don't care if someone is a Republican or an independent or a Democrat. I don't care if someone likes me or not. That will never change the fact that I'm going to fight for them to have healthcare. I want MAGA to have health care. I want MAGA to be paid a living wage.
That is actual leadership, unlike anything we are seeing from the
And I'm sorry, like, pay attention how the Republican Party speaks when they're exercising their politics. Pay attention to how Democrats speak when they're exercising their politics. Having some sort of a plan or a message to put forward, that's key. Right? If you are just being hateful and trying to target a specific group and things of that nature, then that's not politics. That's not going to affect the voters' everyday life. If you're just going out there and targeting a group of minorities and talking negatively about them, or talking about how Trump is this, that, and the third, and attacking him, talk to me about policies that are going to affect me, my pocket, my life, my parents' life, my kids' life, education, things like that. Talk about that and ignore all the BS. Bring everything back to your message, back to the policies that you want to put forward. Anybody that's doing that deserves a listen. They deserve support. Everybody else is just more of pitting people against each other, and they're just playing politics. They're just playing a role.
Democrats, or God forbid, Donald Trump, right? He actively despises his opposition. He wants them to have the worst things ever. He wants to punish them and ruin them, right? But here is AOC saying, no, no, no. Listen, you are an American. If you hate me, fine. If you didn't vote for me, fine. I still want to give you health care. I still want to give you housing. I still want to give you a livable wage. That is leadership, and that is actually caring about your citizens. And I think that the progressive commentator and Twitch streamer Hassan Piker does a great job of focusing on the issues we all actually care about in this short clip right here. Take a look.
A battle brewing against not only the corrupt fascist forces of the Republican Party, but also against do-nothing Democrats that would rather sit there and collect paycheck after paycheck and fundraise from corporate donors that put your interests second to the interests of those very same corporations that poison your water as they sit idly by, that make sure that every single piece of productive output in the wealthiest nation on earth goes back to our massive military-industrial complex that only brings about death and destruction overseas.
Every single dollar spent on a bomb.
So, and let's be clear, like over the years, like this whole myth about how great capitalism is, and sure, it has certain benefits and all this different stuff, but we've made it a point to bolster capitalism to such an extent that the gap in income has become so large with the middle class, like as far as salaries and wages and stuff like that, barely seeing an increase. Like that gap is going to continue to grow and grow and grow, and nobody's really addressing it. And like Hassan was saying, like all of your money and all of the politicians' interest is in whoever they're lobbied for to make sure that they're getting increased benefit, tax break, monetary gain. Meanwhile, nothing is changing for us. And we are the one that's putting them in the office. Like, yeah, they're the ones that's lining their pockets, but we're the ones dumb enough to vote for them and put them in office, and they're not serving us.
Or a gun, or a mine, or an F-15 is a dollar that is not being spent on hospitals, or housing, or food, medicine, daycare, science, technology. None of it, right? But the times are changing. And progressives are gaining momentum like they never have before. They are more popular than ever. And you have people like Ro Khanna and AOC even kind of testing the waters at higher office, right? Even Ro Khanna himself, when asked about a presidential run, he had this to say.
And that calling of understanding the economy and wanting to see a cohesive multiracial democracy says, maybe I have something to offer and contribute with humility to our nation at this moment.
We have a moment right now to build a progressive coalition against corporate Democrats and MAGA and the GOP, all of it, right? To push an agenda of change that's actually built for and by the American people. Because now, under the dome of Donald Trump and the GOP and this right radical politics, is the exact time that we need strong left-wing fighters to push against the rising tide of corporate centrism and monopolies, and also all of this hate and bigotry, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, right? We need people who actually give a damn, right? And I think that the public seems to think that way too. But I think that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to subscribe to U.S. Democratic Socialists for more news like this. And if you like this video, be sure to leave a like down below and comment your thoughts. I would love to hear all about them, what you have to say down below. All right, but I think that's going to do it for
Yep, so obviously that's the end of this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Here lately, I obviously have a lot more support, and it gets me more it gives me more of a positive outlook on what potential we may have when I'm listening to a lot of these progressive candidates, right? But in order for it to happen, we're going to need a lot more, because obviously establishment Democrats are trying to disparage all of these people, you know, target them however they can, and to stay in power. Let's be honest, they want to stay in power, and ultimately, you know, the first goal is to defeat the Republicans and to take back the House and take over the Senate, hopefully, and then the presidency, right? But if we're just going to do it with more of the same, we're just, you know, replace them with more career politicians that have been bought and paid for, we're not going to see those effects. So hopefully we get a lot of new voices, new blood in there. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Are y'all more centrist? Y'all more progressive? Are any of y'all, you know, still conservatives to this point? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you learned anything from this video, make sure you share it with your people. Keep the conversation going, keep the information flowing. And until next time, I'll holla at you.
Wanna be my enemy? I pop out, they go wild, so celebrity. Too busy winning, I forgot that I got frenemies.